If you're new in town or just new to this whole podcast thing, you're tuning in to Law by Night, the podcast that discusses all things vampiric with no fear of breaching the Masquerade. In this episode, we shall talk about Jeanette and Therese Voerman, two of the most powerful and active kindred in these modern nights. We shall discuss the origins, motives, and what sort of cultures these kindred live. Your introduction to our existence, neonate, was a tragic one, embraced and dumped by the side of a curb overlooking the neon lights of the Asylum, which of course you know is one of the most popular club chains in these modern nights, rivaling the well-established succubus clubs. As is the case with many clubs, you are generally not allowed to embrace in or around the premises, for it looks bad for those wanting to uphold the Masquerade. The Asylum clubs are owned by the Voerman twins, Therese and Jeanette. I had to do quite a bit of legwork to ensure your survival, as word travels fast in our world of darkness, as neither our Prince Alexandria or Therese Voerman was all too pleased with what had transpired. I can see by the look in your eye that you are either very intrigued by these strangers or you know exactly who these two are. I am not surprised, for they are particularly famous for many reasons. So, why don't we unravel the minds of these two childs of Malkav? Oh, you heard that right. The Voerman twins are of Clan Malkavian, which may or may not come as a surprise to you. You see, Therese, on first impressions, more resembles Clan Ventru than Malkavian. That is presuming you don't assume she is a Toreador by her stunning appearance or her disdain for the Nosferatu. Yes, we get on like peas in a fucking pod. Therese is remarkably intelligent yet incredibly arrogant, oppressive and ingenuous, with a superb mind for business, believing that she is better than the majority of Malkavians. She is not a Malk without morals, for she genuinely cares for Jeanette and believes that she is responsible for Jeanette's survival. Therese believes kindred are superior to humans, holding herself as a great example to the Camarilla image. So, you can imagine the sheer disgust Therese has for her sister, who constantly copulates with mortals. It is possible, you know, for most of us to partake in coitus, which I believe I have mentioned before. If not, I suppose we can discuss it another time. Perhaps. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, as of the time of our discussion, Therese Voerman is the current Baron of Santa Monica in the United States of America, Los Angeles to be precise. Previously, it belonged to a 9th generation Ventru, Louis Fortier, who would be remembered by allying himself with the Wong Kuei, the Kuei Jin. It could be assumed that Therese is his successor of sorts, taking that control from him. It can also be assumed that, in addition to Santa Monica, Therese Voerman has control over Beverly Hills, Pacific Palisades, and Marina del Rey. Jeanette, on the other hand, has numerous playthings that could be vaguely described as lovers, no doubt including many various mortals, and an associate of mine, judging by the way he speaks of her. Lust aside, Jeanette couldn't be more the opposite of Therese if she tried, and I have no doubt she tries very hard to annoy her big sister, from the way she dresses to her allegiance to the Anarchs to her private activities, to put it mildly. Jeanette is, childish, shall we say, in practically everything she does. She is very needy and uses a mix of her childish and sex appeal to get what she wants, as I can show you via a recording I had collected from the associate I'd mentioned.
Your city? Last time I looked it was called Santa Monica, not stuck-up bitch. So vulgar. I can't even look at you sometimes, you Jezebel. Oh, Therese, you really do paint a flattering portrait of me with your turn-of-the-century barbs. I always assumed you could do nothing but look down on me. Just the sight of you! The sight of that wicked, painted pout, concealing that dirty, diseased mind! Sin! You have no shame. Let she who is without sin cast the fierce tone. Go ahead and mock me. You pull your pranks, make fun of my ways. It suits you. You're just one big joke. Don't you call me that! Should I start calling a duck a pig as well? I'm your sister. How can you treat me like this? That's it, Jeanette. Run away from the truth. I'll take care of everything, as always.
I also know that Therese is said to be the oldest sister, embracing Jeanette. And whilst I do not know the true age of them, my Nosferatu associate I mentioned can confirm that Jeanette said that the last sunrise she saw was over 2 lifetimes ago. From that, I can assume that she and her sister are more than 100 years old, assuming that Therese was embraced shortly before... Neonate. Leaning closely. I am about to pass on to some valuable information to you. Information that is not common knowledge to most kindred. Only Therese and Jeanette's closest associates, who are other members of Clan Malkavian and that one child of Therese, know that Therese and Jeanette are one of the same. It proved a powerful bargaining chip to ensure your survival, Neonate, so this knowledge is a powerful weapon indeed, so use it wisely. Allow me to elaborate what I mean by this. Whilst I am not certain as to which Malkavian is the true child, I am told that it was Therese who first showed signs of a mental illness called dissociative identity disorder, which came in the form of an alternative personality called Jeanette. You may have known DID as multiple personality disorder, a mental disorder where the individual maintains at least 2 distinct personality states, which can be accompanied by memory gaps or loss, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, substance use disorders, self-harm, and anxiety. Whilst the sisters dislike each other now, I am told that the sisters did get along once, but that is primarily due to the fact that Therese did not have many friends due to her father never allowing her to go outside, adding that she would get hurt in the outside world. Whilst he technically was not wrong, trying to protect your children and shelter them from the violence from the outside can often do more harm than good, which is where Jeanette probably began to manifest in Therese's mind. Jeanette was the only one who was with Therese after all. Together, they would create their own worlds of make-believe that they would claim dominion over. The only member of the Voermans we know besides our Malkavian twins is the father, who would make it a regular tradition to manipulate and molest her as a way to cope with his depression. Therese would blame Jeanette for her father's transgressions, saying that it was her bad behaviour which was tormenting him. Therese simply saw this as her being a good girl and obedient daughter, and she was convinced her father loved her. So sad. Dance around the mat and make excuses as much as you want, child. It was rape, something that would destroy Therese's mind, body, and soul. If the visions of Jeanette were not created here, they certainly were strengthened. Therese's father would die, the circumstances of which depends on whom you ask. Therese told my associate that her father killed himself because Jeanette was a bad daughter and tormented their father with her constant lewdness. But Jeanette told me that their father came home drunk one evening and mistook Jeanette for Therese and molested her instead. Therese caught the two together and, in a resentful rage, she shot him with one of their father's hunting rifles, blowing his mind all over some silly clown wallpaper. It won't come to a surprise to you that when the police came to clean up the mess, Therese was sent to a mental institution, an asylum. Sound familiar? Whatever drugs and practices these doctors and specialists performed suppressed the Jeanette portion of Therese's mind right up until the young adulthood period of her life. I am fairly certain Therese escaped somehow, finding Jeanette shortly after her departure and eventually embraced into Clan Malkavian. I do not know who their sire is, but a conversation with Beckett suggested to me that their sire is an equally powerful Malkavian with multiple personalities, a Generation 5, previously 6th generation kindred by the name of Jacob, which would mean that Therese is also a Generation 6 Methuselah and Jeanette a Generation 7 Elder. That is of course presuming that one has lived for 1,000 or so years and the other one a few hundred years, but we just say these things to make things easier for the neonates to understand not to fuck with your superiors, as I'm sure you are aware. Whilst I do not believe any Malkavian mind to be this twisted, it is possible that none of what I have told you has occurred. It could all merely be the delusions of her strand of the Malkavian condition. It is also possible that Jeanette was a legitimate human being, a real sister to Therese, and might have been killed by her when she killed the father as well. And I also heard the odd theory that there may have been a secret third sister, but I believe that is a load of balderdash. Now, Kindred, Therese would rise to power as a successful businesswoman, eventually claiming the title of Baron of Santa Monica. Her base of operations and her primary business source is the original asylum, now rebranded as the New Asylum. Whilst Therese would manage the finance and business aspects of the club, Jeanette's extravagant demeanour would lure in patrons for the club, both kindred and kine alike. The New Asylum acts as a mini Elysium of sorts, so it would be a sensible idea to presume that the other asylum clubs do this as well. It may be worth remembering that when you conduct your business in an asylum, child. When the Camarilla became a presence in Santa Monica once again under Prince LaCroix, or Prince LaCroix depending on who you ask, Therese sought to ally herself with him and the Camarilla to further her plans for power. Whilst Jeanette favoured the Anarchs, my associate Nosferatu has collected evidence that suggests that not only did Jeanette aided her sister to join the Camarilla, but also had wild sex with the former Prince of LA. I shall play you a recording my associate sent me, the quality of which may not be as smooth as you would be used to, but remember, child, that this was done in 2004.
Just as you fucking thought. Since that sarcophagus has come in, every fucking kindred here has lost their fucking shit, right? They're fucking crazy down here, but I know that's not what you wanted to hear, but I found some pretty spicy information with those Malkavians you've been working with. You know, the Voerman twins, and I overheard a conversation they've been having with themselves, and it sounds like they've been getting right in LaCroix's pants. No, I made extensive notes of what they were saying. Just give me a moment. I'm just gonna dig them out and find them. What the fuck did I put? Right, here it is. This is what they said. We're not clowns, Jeanette. We're not here to amuse our kindred. But only, we're here to make them laugh, make them cry, make them sticky with delight or embarrassment. You drag our club through the muck. Our clan. Time was, we got the kindred the others went for advice. Foresight, strategies in times of war. I'll pour that stick out your ass, Therese. Unless you like it up there. We've always been jesters. Well, she's got a fucking point then. Anyway, Therese comes back and says, jesters in times gone by assessed the court and delivered their findings to the prince. And so did we. God, you see my skirt and makeup and just think, slut, don't you? Oh, Jeanette's a one fucking wild slut, I'll tell you what, Orlok. Even you could get fucking hard with that bit. Sorry, you probably won't like that. I had some weird fucking looks tonight. Anyway, so they then go on and say, of course, Therese says, you not? Yeah. But how many nuggets of gold do you think I pried from the ghoul I was screwing? The repressed warlock I loosened up, or, get this right, or Prince LaCroix, when it was bouncing up and down on my love gun. Bang. Bang. Are you fucking serious, right? She was fucking pegging the Ventru right on the fucking shitter. God, you disgust me, Therese says. I acquire intelligence through visions, through sampling the blood, through the debate business transaction, reading emotions, drawing out the uncomfortable truths. She pauses for a moment, right? She fucking sighs, then there's a giggle. I think Jeanette's coming back in now, and then she says, you wear the suit, I wear the stockings. We're mentally impaired as a clan, but hell, if it allows us to both lower our inhibitions and get a little dirty to do what we must be done, I say bring on the personality disorders. It's like a cocktail in my head. There's nothing wrong with me. You're the one with the special needs. Oh, you need your daddy just as much as I do. Therese fucking loses it then. She starts screaming and shouting. Shut up, shut up. For one night, could you go without mentioning that we're all head cases and instead focus on what we accomplish? And then Jeanette's like, I'm much calmer now. She stops giggling as much. She starts behaving a little bit. Fucking hard to believe, right? But I know, right? So she says, sorry, sis. I guess there's two sides to being a Malkavian. The visionary and the maniac. We're a good team. I hate you. You hate us. We hate us. I love you. I love me too. Oh, ain't that fucking sweet? The two bitches can kiss and make up and be friends and... Oh shit, look, I've got to go. Nick has been a right old bastard late, and I really need to get out of here, so I'll catch you soon.
Spicy, isn't it? Whether this allowed Therese to get what she wanted is unknown to me, as LaCroix did not live long enough to bestow what she wanted. And what I believe she wanted was to have control, a means of legitimizing her power. I am told that she has recently become the Malkavian Primogen by Prince Vannevar, if my sources can be trusted. And what does Jeanette want? I couldn't say. During the events surrounding the infamous Ankarogan sarcophagus, the sarcophagus that he mentioned at the beginning of the recording, the Voerman twins came to an agreement. They would work together, but the public appearance of the near-violent disagreement would be maintained to confuse their opponents. Meaning, Jeanette may well be joining the Camarilla soon. Whether they accepted her into the Ivory Tower is yet to be seen, assuming that my hypothesis is correct, however. Whatever the future holds for them, and by extension the city of Los Angeles, one can suspect they would be at the helm, either driving it into the ground or build the tallest ivory tower that side of the US has ever seen. To be kept updated, follow the Law by Night VTM Twitter and Instagram pages to find out when we will upload each episode. You can also find out by subscribing to the YouTube channel and clicking on the little bell, as you'll be immediately notified when the latest episode is live. Until next time, farewell.